Alrighty. Alright, so today I'm going to build a cheap 50-gallon aquaponics system. So right now you can see I have my older one here. And surprisingly, this one's still holding up. This one here, I actually paid someone to weld it and make it nice. What I'm going to do here is, instead of you going out and paying someone to do all this stuff, I'm going to do one of these, which I've done before, for dirt cheap. Now, these tanks that are perfectly square, you usually can't get for free. Because what happens is you turn it on its side and you get all the spouts, and it's a better tank. With this one, with these units, they're not as desirable because they're not perfectly square. And the other thing is, you have to fight around, you know, different aspects of it. Like, you're gonna have to leave the spout on the bottom, which is not desirable because they can start to leak, but I'm gonna seal it up. And the same with these is the fact that you have these drain spouts, which they can start to leak as well, versus this unit didn't have that. So I got this for free. If you are patient, keep your eye out. These are easy to come by for free. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do this as cheap as possible as well. So the actual aquaponic rocks are very expensive. So you don't have to use aquaponic rocks. You can use the riverbed pebbles. They work fine. The only situation is you got to pre-clean them. And I will show that process as well. So all this can be done for under $100, dirt cheap, and you can get a 50-gallon system when you're done, which is cheap, especially when you figure to have someone, if you go and buy one of these. I know guys that sell them like hotcakes to people. It's about $450 to $500. So I'll go through the process step by step of building this. It's probably won't look as nice as this unit here, simply because of I'm going to use standard saws and some other stuff. But again, it'll be cheap. You can get into aquaponics, major aquaponics, as quick as possible. And at this point, the other thing I'll bring up is you want to make your surface area as flat as possible. So you can get these stones for $1. So what I'm going to do is lay out the stones. I'm going to put some ground cloth down, get this as level as possible before I move on, and then put the tank, start cutting it up, which it makes it more presentable. My wife likes it when it's on the stones, and makes her less upset. She doesn't like these things. And go from there. The other advantage I have too is I already have an established tank here with fish in it. So the good news is I can take about half the water into this once I'm done, and pretty much I don't have to wait for the establishment time. If you didn't have you know, established tank, a lot of people will run down to like a pond, grab like 5 gallons of water from like just a regular pond, pour it in. The other thing too is I capture rainwater here. Now obviously these are more than it's going to cost to build this. These are expensive, getting these rain catchers. So I just built the system off my gutters in my house, and I capture 150 gallons of water. So I'm going to drain about half of this out into the new tank, and then I'm going to use this 150 gallons to re-level them up, and I should be right where I need to. If you were not going to do that, and you don't have rainwater, and you don't have pre-established water, you would basically need to go out and buy a kit to do water treatment for your fish. Basically, you have to put stuff in the water to start getting rid of all the additives that are put into our drinking water. That formula, I do have it. If I can find it, I will show it. Because in Texas, we run out of rainwater, and with the evaporation when it gets hot, I have to sometimes fill one of these units up with tap water. I let it sit for about 2 weeks, and I put that formula in that basically takes the tap water and makes it fish friendly and aquaponics friendly. So I will film this as I go. It's not a quick process to do it cheap. Obviously, if you were to go out and find one of these people that sell them for $400 or $500, you could, and that doesn't include the rocks, by the way, and you still got to paint it and do some other stuff. You know, you're still, you know, you're not getting into it cheap. Versus this, you can do it for under $100. And I do encourage people to get into it. Aquaponics is not that hard. We've had weird weather in Texas, so things aren't growing that well yet this year. We've actually had, in April, which is unusual, 30-degree temperature nonstop, 30 to 40. So things haven't been growing that well, but things are finally starting to sprout on this aquaponics system. I did have catfish in here for a while. My wife decided to round up the garden area and killed them, which sucked. But I'm reestablishing it this year, and I will in the next few weeks, hopefully with this tank, go and get some catfish. I had some big suckers in there too that died, some ones that were eatable too, and get that going. All right, fun times. So I finished the aquaponics. Ended up being a little bit more expensive than I thought. I needed more rock than what I thought. So the difference in these two aquaponics units, this particular unit here, the water flushes down. It's got a siphon system, so it fills up and siphons down. Certain things grow better in that type of aquaponics system. And again, I spent a lot more money on this system. This one here is a constant flowing water one. So basically you just sort of cover it up, and certain things grow better in this, like watercress and mint, stevia and stuff like that grows better in this. The one biggest thing that I did, as you saw in the other video, is I drilled 2 holes here. One is the primary drainage hole for the water when it overflows. This is a backup one. You always put a backup one when you build these. So that way, if this one ever becomes plugged, say a plant grows into it, I've had it happen. If you don't do it, the water just overflows, and it'll cause a lot of problems, and you can have some fish die. So even though I clean these rocks before I put them in here, as you can see, the water's still murky. What I'm gonna let the thing do is, before I put any fish in here, I'm gonna let it run for a while, and then go from there. So I did have to add some tap water into it, not a whole lot, after the rainwater was emptied into it. But at this point in a week, I'll get fish and start going. So I think it came close to $150. The paver stones were $50, the rocks were $60, and the pump was $30, and then extra pipes and all that were another $20. So it came out a little bit over $100. I thought I could do it cheaper, but I wanted to do it right. And this is a really easy setup. I did it right at 8 hours, from prepping, painting, and all that. Oh, I forgot the paint. The paint was $30, so it definitely came in a lot more expensive. But you definitely want to paint this. If you do not paint these, you'll get algae in your water. The thing that I will tell you too is, if you look at the, this is really cheap, thin plastic. And there's a reason why these ones are not, a lot of aquaponics people don't like compared to this thicker plastic material. This one doesn't flex at all. This is flexing a great deal. And that's why I had to reuse the metal bottom on this, was because I knew the plastic wouldn't hold up like it did on those. So that's why I used the complete metal here on this. So this is going to be only growing watercress. It's something I put in my shakes and stuff. So I should be good to go on that regard. But other than that, I'm finished up. Like I said, it didn't take very long. Still cheaper than the other unit. The other unit I was into at almost $700 versus this one. I'll have to add the numbers up and I'll put it on the video. But I want to say it was under $200. But at this point, in a week, I'll start putting stuff in there to grow. And all you do is, from the pump, is get 2 Ys and throw water back in. It just helps circulate the water in the bottom, and just a pipe that comes up to a valve. You can adjust the flow through here. This is a little too much right now, in fact, but it's that simple. Just to the pump, up a couple of T's, and then that's it.